Good morning and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining our session PEX307, Migrating Business Intelligence Systems to Amazon QuickSight. We are going to tell you about best practices, methodologies, and tools for automatically migrating business intelligence dashboards to Amazon QuickSight. My name is Tamara Stakhova. I'm Senior Partner Solution Architect at AWS. My area of expertise is Big Data and Analytics. I've been working at AWS over 3 years, supporting ISV strategic partners. I'm here with my colleague, Shaunak Chandra, and also with Narendra Joshi, who is APN Ambassador from the Infosys. Now I will let them introduce themselves. Shaunak, please.
Hi, thank you for joining today's session. My name is Shaunak Chandra. I'm a Principal Partner SA here in AWS. And I have over 18 years experience in data and analytics. And in AWS, my role is worldwide QuickSight technical lead for our partners. And in that role, I help customers and partners to leverage QuickSight as their BI solution. So nice to be here. And we have Narendra Joshi. He is our guest speaker. I would let him introduce himself.
Good morning, all. A warm welcome to all of you for this BI Insights to QuickSight migration session. I'm Narendra Joshi. I'm a Principal Technology Architect with Infosys. I'm with the Data and Analytics practice. I've been with Infosys for a little over 20 years. We help our customers across the world, across lines of businesses, adopt and implement cloud. A warm welcome to all of you to this session.
Thank you for your introduction. So today we are going to cover the following agenda items. I will begin with business intelligence trends, and then I will speak about Amazon QuickSight use cases, and I will share business intelligence migration customer stories. And after that, Shaunak will speak about business intelligence migration tools and show Amazon QuickSight demo. And then Narendra will share the Infosys story. At the end, we will talk about a call to action, how to become Amazon QuickSight partner, and we will have time for Q&A. Okay, thank you, and let's begin. The business intelligence trends that we are currently seeing. Data is an organization's asset. Today, data volumes are increasing from terabytes to petabytes and sometimes to exabytes. And traditional on-premises data analytics approaches cannot handle these data volumes because they do not scale well enough and are too expensive. We hear from many companies that they want to extract more value from the data, but they struggle to capture, store, and analyze all the data generated by modern digital businesses. Data is growing exponentially, coming from new sources, more diverse, and needs to be securely accessed by multiple users to get insights from the data. That is why companies move from big data strategy to data analytics strategy that help them to make better decisions, respond faster to unexpected changes, increase efficiency, discover new opportunities, and drive innovations to the business. Once we understand the challenges our customers face, we are able to determine the trends in business intelligence. In the next, I will speak about these trends. The first trend is continuous intelligence. The ability to utilize real-time data and pushing alerts when spike activities happen, companies can respond immediately and make changes quickly. For example, during the pandemic time, healthcare organizations need to know where virus was spreading in order to prepare for potential cases. In situations like this, it is very important to receive information in real time. The second trend is embedded analytics. This helps self-service users to work with data anywhere at any time. And the third trend is data preparation and visualization. Here, data process automation helps companies to automatically upload data into data lake and data warehouse that speed up the process of data preparation for analytics. Also, it can help minimize errors come from manual data entry. And collaborative business intelligence helps people with different roles in an organization to interact by sharing newly generated reports automatically. That also helps make decisions more quickly. Depending on your business and your country, there is a lot of regulations to protect customers' data that must be implemented as a part of any solution. Some examples of security standards would be PCI, HIPAA, FISMA, or FedRAMP. The next trend is data security and governance. This also helps customers to highlight sensitive data and prevent regulatory compliance breaches. And also implemented authentication mechanisms helps organizations control data access. And one more trend, business intelligence with machine learning. Here, artificial intelligence also helps in data analytics. For example, adoption of NLP technology helps business users who lack machine learning expertise ask questions about the data in natural language. Also, predictive and advanced analytics helps business users answer questions about future revenue, risks, or demands. Example would be automatically calculated predictions based on historical data. These are the main trends that we are currently seeing in business intelligence, and to help companies take advantage of potential opportunities, AWS offers Amazon QuickSight as a business intelligence service. And now let's talk about it in more detail. Amazon QuickSight is a fully managed browser-based business intelligence service for the cloud that helps to get fast insights from the data. Amazon QuickSight helps address many challenges around existing BI tools. There are multiple benefits of using Amazon QuickSight for analytics, data visualization, and reporting. The first one is the pricing. The total cost of ownership is less with Amazon QuickSight. Amazon QuickSight offers a unique pay-per-session pricing model for dashboard readers, users who consume interactive dashboards. There is no upfront cost for licenses, and you can pay only for what you use. You pay only for what you use. And the next benefit that Amazon QuickSight is automatically scaled serverless service that responds spike activities and provides the best performance with the in-memory engine called Spice. You can start with tens of users and scale up to thousands. And AWS will manage servers and software for you. You don't need to support your own business intelligence infrastructure. The next benefit that Amazon QuickSight is designed for internal and external users. It is easily embedded into your applications with iframes and one-click embedding options. Also, it provides interactive dashboards for end users, so they do not need to install an application. Also, you can control access to your multi-tenant applications with our API and SDK. Next benefit that Amazon QuickSight is deeply integrated with AWS services such as Amazon Redshift, Amazon RDS, Amazon Aurora, and other services. You can easily build your analytics and gain valuable insights from your data on top of a modern data architecture in AWS. One benefit also I want to highlight today that it's with Amazon QuickSight, you can get deeper insights from your data through ad hoc analysis and built-in machine learning capabilities such as anomaly detection, multi-dimensional forecasting. You can ask questions in natural language queries and receive answers in seconds with Amazon QuickSight Q. And you don't need to be a machine learning expert to use this feature. These are the most significant benefits of using Amazon QuickSight for use cases, and AWS is constantly adding new capabilities and features to Amazon QuickSight to meet our customers' needs. So, based on the customer needs, we determine the focus area for data visualization. The first is enterprise, add more enterprise business intelligence capabilities, such as for core analytics functionality, add more calculations, filters, charts, any feature to improve user experience. Also improve administration console for management and for usage metrics. For data connectivity, add more connectors, enrich data preparation, and improve dataset access control. For the second, add more extended embedded capabilities and improve developer experience. And the last one are machine learning powered insights for Amazon QuickSight Q, enrich user experience, add more administration capabilities, and region expansion. So this is the focus area for data visualization. And next, let's talk about Amazon QuickSight use cases. Very often when organizations use a separate tool to support each use case, or even they build own tool trying to combine all functionalities for all use cases into one platform. With Amazon QuickSight, customers can cover a number of use cases to deliver insights to internal and external users. The first use case covers embedded insights that helps enhance customers-facing products and monetize data assets with visuals, dashboards, and natural language queries. For the second use case, you can equip your business with interactive dashboards, meaningful insights, visualizations, and ad hoc analysis. For enterprise reporting use case, Amazon QuickSight helps you distribute static, highly formatted ML-based reporting to internal and external users. To illustrate these use cases, now I want to share some business intelligence migration customer stories. First story. Large retail bank, leading information-based technology company. The customer was faced with the challenges of supporting multiple data sources, such as a Snowflake, Amazon Redshift, Amazon RDS, Amazon S3 Data Lake, and Amazon Athena. Also, they used multiple BI tools, such as Tableau, Qlik, and Burst. They successfully moved to Amazon QuickSight and able to provide self-service analytics on one lake data lake with only one BI tool that helped them simplify their solution and improve multi-license dependency. Also, with Amazon QuickSight built-in machine learning capabilities, they perform risk analysis, market research, monitoring and governance, fraud and anomaly detection, operational reporting, and forecasting. Secure embedded analytics with single sign-on help them support thousands of users. And because Amazon QuickSight fully managed with no downtime and auto-scaled service, they are able to support 2,000 authors, users who create interactive dashboards, and over 20,000 readers, users who consume interactive dashboards. Next story. Large hotel and resort company is a global hospitality company. They use for data source Amazon Redshift and Amazon S3 and needs provide real-time operational revenue reporting for hotel revenue managers. Also, they need provide multiple reports, such as a marketing statistic, advanced booking patterns, and daily occupancy rates, and other reports. The customer was faced with the challenge of supporting multiple BI tools, such as Tableau and IBM Cognos. They successfully moved to Amazon QuickSight and able to provide analytics with only one BI tool that helps them also remove a multi-license dependency. And with Amazon QuickSight pay per session pricing model, they have significantly optimized their cost and also able to provide analytics and support for over 23,000 registered users and over 7,000 active users. These customer stories demonstrate how companies have successfully moved from their existing business intelligence platforms to Amazon QuickSight and how they have benefited from using Amazon QuickSight. Now I would like to invite Shonak to talk about business intelligence migration tools.
Thank you, Tamara. Thank you for walking us through QuickSight use cases, customer stories, BI trends. So before I go into my presentation, I would like to take a quick poll. How many of you have gone to the internet and looked up for the featured announcement in reInvent in analytics since yesterday morning? Please raise your hands. Okay, not too many of you. So if you are raising your hand, that means you know what I'm getting at. But if you are not, if you have not looked up what the featured announcements are, I would like to share some fun stories. So there are 6 featured announcements on analytics in Adam Silipski's keynote yesterday. Out of those 6 announcements, 3 were preview, and 2 of those 6 announcements were about QuickSight. And the fun fact, one of those featured announcements I'm going to talk about in this session. What is not fun is the other announcement on QuickSight we are not covering. But I'm going to give you the sessions where you can go and look and watch and actually attend those sessions. So I'm going to share those session names towards the end. So with that, let me get started. So before we talk about the API and CLI that's going to help you your BI migration journey, let's talk through some of the best practices in your BI migration path. So you have the source BI that you want to migrate off of and move on to Amazon QuickSight. So the very first step in BI migration is to take a BI migration assessment. So what does BI migration assessment? It's just knowing the lay of the land of your source BI tool. And that involves knowing the number and complexity of BI objects. And the reason for this assessment is to find out how effective the BI migration assessment is going to be, because you need to know before migration how many objects are out there, what is the complexities, and what kind of effort you might need to invest before you take the big step, right? And there are a few observations that we have been noticing in BI migration. One of them is there are a lot of repetitiveness. So the repetitiveness is in BI objects, such as dashboards. There's a lot of the same dashboards being renamed with prefixes and suffixes, with individual's name, with department's name. And they essentially serve the same purpose, but because the tool does not cover things like, like your default parameter in the beginning, so they end up, creating different dashboards with different suffixes and prefixes. And then also there are different matrices with different variations in there, and they just add complexity in your BI infrastructure. And the other observation that we have been seeing is certain customer or few customers tends to use one feature or few features quite extensively. And some of these features are like object prompt, dynamic rendering in your visual charts, some specific visuals, and things like that. So when we look and get into those assessment reports, you have better idea what are you getting at, right? And so when you get all of this data, and the objective of your assessment is to find out a compatibility study. So compatibility study meaning feature-to-feature comparison with your BI asset in your source BI to your target BI that you're trying to migrate into. And then you do some rationalization study. So rationalization means how many of these objects are really being used actively by your users. You have tens and thousands reports and dashboards. Are those being actively used, all those reports? Maybe 20% or 30% of those reports are really being used. So you need to get into those telemetry of your reporting environment to find out how rationalized is your environment. Once you get these 2 data points, you might also have an opportunity to find out standardization, like standardizing your reporting matrices, standardizing your dimensions, and you also need to decide where you're going to put those standardizations. Well, we talk about data democratization and insights democratization all the time. So why we are talking about standardizations? Well, with democratizations comes governance, and that's where you need to think about how you can standardize some of the things like matrices, KPI, and operational matrices in order for your organizations, your entire organizations, to have a more concise and consistent data tracking mechanism. All right, so you have the migration assessment. You know what are the complexities and what are the objects out there. So next step is automation. And automation helps you benefit migration much faster and much effectively. What you are expecting in the automation? With automation, you're going to migrate not just the data model, which involves things like joining and filtering and projection and all of those, but also the actual visual layer, which involves analysis, reports, dashboards. And many of the tools in the market does not have the capability to define those visual layer in the code and apply some API and CLI to migrate those into their tools. So it requires them for you to build visuals going into their tool, whatever that tool is, right? And that's where a lot of benefit we bring to the table with Amazon QuickSight. All right, so you have migrated some of those objects, metadata as well as visual layer into QuickSight. So the next step is to audit. And again, so audit is repetitive, means you have to iteratively do auditing. Once you have done your first version of automation, you have migrated some dashboards and reports. You need to audit with your business users to get confirmation that it is fitting their purpose. And then you go back and then do fine-tuning in your automation. If something has been missed, you're going to take care of those. So that's what the BI migration path looks like in terms of migrating from your source BI into Amazon QuickSight. Now, in the lights of data model and dashboards, let's see what QuickSight brings to the table. So we have API and CLI for create data source. So what is a data source? Data source is a physical information kept within Amazon QuickSight that stores your data source information. Your data source could be a database endpoint, it could be a database cluster, it could be a SaaS product, or it could be a S3 source. So within your data source, you capture data connectivity information as well as networking information that might be necessary in order to secure your data layer. You can also provide permissions policy statements within your data source, and all of these you define within your code as JSON object, and then call API and CLI to create these data source in Amazon QuickSight. So you do not necessarily need to go to the UI to create data source. Once you create the data source, the next is dataset. And dataset consists of logical table map that involves things like we discussed earlier about filter, casting, projection, column naming or renaming, joining, and all those. You do also specify physical table maps. So physical table maps are custom SQL. If you're familiar or comfortable with writing up SQL, you define custom SQL in there. You can also provide S3 source name and so on. You can also define the import mode, whether it's a SPICE, which is in-memory processing engine in Amazon QuickSight, which can hold up to 1 terabyte of data with our recent announcement in the last couple of weeks. It could also have a direct query, so you can specify the import mode. You can specify column grouping, which essentially is hierarchy. Another interesting feature is row-level security. Using row-level security, you can provide multi-tenancy within your data set. So instead of creating tens and thousands of data set for individual tenant, you can just define one data set which will secure your data for all of your tenant. And then you can also specify column level security rules and permissions policies as well. So with these create data source and create data set, you define and create the objects within QuickSight. And then we have also update data source and update data set APIs and CLIs out there. And they're pretty similar in terms of structure, except they do not have option for permissions policy. So this is where when you are going back to our BI migration path, after auditing, when you are going back to your automation for fine-tuning, this is where you are going to apply update data source and update data sets. More often update data set than update data source. All right, so that's about the metadata. Now, what about our visual layer? So that involves analysis, which is work in progress reports and dashboards, and dashboards. So we have create dashboard, and this is what we launched recently in yesterday's announcement. With create dashboard, you can specify multiple tabs, which we call sheets in Amazon QuickSight. Within each sheet, you can have multiple visuals, and within each visual, you can define what you want to put into the x-axis, y-axis, sorting, any calculations, any aggregations. All of those you can define, and we're going to show in the demo later on. You can define all of these: filter, action, calculated field, parameters, hierarchy. You can define in JSON structure within this create a dashboard and run the CLI or API to create the dashboard without even touching the UI. And similarly, we have create analysis as well with the same options that you get in create dashboard, but it does not have any publishing option because analysis is an in-progress reporting layer, and dashboard is the end object which you share with your end users, and they can interact with their reader license. And similar to data source and data set, we do have also update dashboard and update analysis. Now, fitting back to our BI migration path, QuickSight APIs provide you the automation tools that you can use to migrate data set, which is the data model, a logical data model, as well as the reporting or visual layer. And then you can also use the CloudTrail to audit, where you're finding issues, as well as you can check in your UI to see the reports and dashboards has come out as your end user are expecting. Okay, so let's talk about how Amazon QuickSight secures your data connectivity. And like everywhere else in AWS, security is job zero, right? So let's talk about how Amazon QuickSight UI is presented to your end users. So QuickSight UI is served as a regional domain name, which is accessible via internet. And through that internet, you can connect to QuickSight UI through SSL. So always from your client, which is a browser, to Amazon QuickSight domain is always SSL encrypted. And QuickSight resources are contained within its own VPC, which is Virtual Private Cloud. And QuickSight provides a set of IP ranges that you define within your firewall settings in your data source to allow least QuickSight endpoints to get data from your data source. If the data source is residing in your on-premise or in your AWS private virtual cloud, you define those regional endpoints to allow QuickSight to get data from your source. So typically, users have data in Amazon, their own customer VPC, and if it is Amazon Redshift or RDS or Aurora, the best practice is to keep those data source in private subnet. As an admin, when you go to Amazon QuickSight admin console and try to create a data source, your first step is going to create a VPC, a QuickSight VPC. So this QuickSight VPC consists of things like private subnet, your VPC ID, and security group. And you do not have to define all this VPC, you just provide those names, and QuickSight is going to create elastic network interface after providing all of those VPC ID, subnet group, and security group. It will create the elastic network interface so that it can create a hole between QuickSight's VPC into customers' private subnet VPC, so that all the data transfers are secured. Now, not all the cases the data sources are residing in AWS. You might be very beginning in your data migration journey, and some of these data sources might be residing in your on-premises. It could be MySQL, SQL Server, Oracle, SAP, Postgres databases. We do have also capabilities to connect these data sources into AWS, which is in the customer's VPC, and we do have a bunch of networking product to let you connect your on-premises data source into Amazon QuickSight or Amazon VPC, customer's VPC. More often than not, customers use Direct Connect, which provides you 100 Gbps connectivity at the most. And also, we do see customers use managed VPN, site-to-site VPN, in case they do not want to use the Direct Connect in order to connect the on-premises data source into Amazon VPC. So with that, I'm going to go to the demo. So in this demo, we're going to migrate a dashboard, and we have a link where you can find this original dashboard, which is built in Power BI. And our end objective is to build the same look and feel in Amazon QuickSight. So typically what you do as a migration, you would extract the metadata, which involves the data model as well as the visual metadata, and then do the mapping from the source to your target, which is QuickSight. So I would leave it up to you to extract the metadata and then do the mapping. What I'm going to do is how you can use these CLI and API to transform a definition specified in JSON to build QuickSight analysis and dashboard. So when we apply this API, it's going to look like this in QuickSight. So before we actually apply any API operations for create dataset and create dashboard, let's take a look what we do have in our QuickSight environment. So we are just navigating all the data sets. We do not see the data set that we're going to create. And in our case, our data set will be residing in Redshift serverless. So let's review the Redshift serverless data by going to the Redshift query editor. So we have defined 3 tables in order to support the dashboard. We have orders table, returns table, and peoples table. So let's take a look at the orders table first. Let's review some of the data. And next is peoples table, just 13 records. And the last one is the returns table. So we'll be creating data set for each of those tables in QuickSight by applying the CLI. So you can go directly into the create dataset UI, and we can create the dataset, but we're going to be using CLI in order to create the dataset. So let's go to the CLI and define the dataset. So we have orders, demo, we do have different fields. So these fields are all the fields that we have in Redshift serverless. And then we also define the transformations. We have rename column operation, which are more user-friendly name of the columns that we're going to be using in the analysis and dashboards. We do have some casting. And then finally, we use the columns that we're going to use in our analysis. And we import into Spice layer. We do also have a permissions policy. And then we define that in a file, and then we apply the CLI by create dataset. So now let's review our orders dataset has been created in QuickSight. So now we see there's a dataset is created through our CLI operation, which is called Global Superstore Orders. And we can see we have the different columns created, casting and renaming of those columns from our Redshift table has been created. Then next, we're going to create the people data set, which has a couple of columns, similar in terms of structure. And we run the create dataset CLI. And let's review. The same dataset is created. And you can see the people, global superstore people is created in QuickSight as well. So we have a couple of columns there. And the same way, we're going to create the third dataset, which is the returns. If we refresh our page in QuickSight dataset, we see these 3 datasets now. All right, so we have created these 3 underlying datasets. Now we want to build the join between people, returns, and orders. So we have defined these definition in our dataset with left join, and we will also have some custom calculations here, like total sales. And the outer join tables. So we have defined all of those joins and custom calculation, and then let's run the create dataset CLI. Now we can review the joined dataset, which we called global superstore reporting dataset. Let's review that. So we have our left join table, which is orders, and then which is left join with people, as well as left join with returns table. We can also see we have defined a location hierarchy, and that has been created as part of the create dataset CLI call. We do also have the calculated field. You can review the calculated field total sale, which has been created. So now we have created the data set. Let's take a look at how the dashboard definition look like. So in our dashboard, we have a top and bottom filter, which is top 5 cities by total sales. Then we do also have a custom filter using parameters. The custom filter is year. So we define that. Then we do also specify the numeric format. We have decimal places. And as part of the reporting layer, we also provide the dataset ID that we have created. And let's say how we can find the dataset ID. So if you go to the dataset in QuickSight, from the URL, you can find out the ID. And then comes to the sheet definition. Within the sheet, we have a bar chart, and we have a definition of its title. And we also have some conditional formatting that we want to apply. We have all the field wells, category, dimension, and matrices. We do also have insights visual. Then we define the table visual with conditional formatting. We have used icons in our conditional formatting. And actions. Actions is very important for interactive operation within QuickSight. So we have defined actions as well. Some geospatial chart is also in our dashboard. There's a line chart as well with an action. And then finally, we define the dashboard layout. And this is a free-form layout. So we package all of these definition. We have a parameter control as well. We package all of this definition into a JSON format. Some calculated fields are also defined here. Just review that we do not have the dashboard. And we run the create dashboard command, taking that JSON file as input to automate the dashboard creation step. So we have run the create dashboard command, and we are refreshing the page. We still don't see the dashboard because we are missing one step, which is the update dashboard permissions. So we're going to run that update dashboard permissions on that dashboard, and then review back to the dashboard screen in QuickSight to see that our dashboard has been created and being accessible. So now we can see the global Superstore dashboard has been created. So let's take a look at what does this dashboard provide. So we have insights on the top left screen, and then we have also a line chart, a dynamic line chart. We do have a category or custom filter here, which we were showing earlier with ER parameter. We do have icons in the table chart. We do have top 5 cities by sales. And we do also have sales by country, and we see there's an action in place as well. And each of these charts have action triggered from by clicking on a particular row in that data. So that is the end of the demo. So with that, I would like to invite Narendra Joshi to the stage to talk about Infosys story with Amazon QuickSight.
A quick recap about Infosys. Infosys is a global leader in next-generation digital services and business consulting. We are a premier servicing partner for AWS and offer end-to-end services from consulting to operations. Please do visit us at the booth 135 to learn more about us. So today, I would like to talk about 2 specific observations or 2 specific feature sets of QuickSight. Now, the first one is essentially who should use QuickSight. So as Shaunak and Tamara pointed out, QuickSight provides you a variety of features such as auto-refresh dashboards, data preparation features, and data exploration features, which makes it very easy for anyone in an organization to get access to data and derive information. QuickSight features such as auto-narratives makes visual data readable. So auto-narrative is a kind of a natural language widget that you can embed in your code, and it can display your charts as a descriptive text. You can embed these widgets in your code, and the natural language part. It can also be a function or a calculation. So, and the best part of all this is all this is customizable to suit your needs, so you can also customize these, the computation parts and the language for your needs. Another feature of QuickSight that I like is the integration with machine learning. Now, we use typically machine learning for when you want to look at reports which look at forecasting or trend analysis. Machine learning works behind the scene to get you that information. Now, auto-narratives actually call machine learning behind the scene, even though these are 2 separate features. It calls behind the scene for use cases such as trend analysis or anomaly detection or some of these things. So this combination of auto-narratives and machine learning helps decision makers and data scientists in an organization. Another fantastic feature of QuickSight that I like is the QuickSight queue. Now, as the name might indicate, QuickSight queue kind of provides answers to some of the questions that you have when you look at a report. Let's say you are looking at a sales report and you want to know what is the total product sale in this week in Las Vegas, or maybe what is the total sale of the product of a particular product in this month. QuickSight can understand some of the key terminologies there and can actually get you to the results that you are looking for much faster. Now, all the features that I spoke about of QuickSight, all these can be embedded in your code. So you can embed a QuickSight console, you can embed a QuickSight dashboard, you can even embed the QuickSight Q search bar that I just spoke about. You can embed a QuickSight visual in your code. So putting all this thing together, these features of QuickSight, essentially going back to the question I asked, who can use QuickSight? Essentially, anybody in an organization who needs access to insights can really use QuickSight. Now, I'll move on to the next part of my presentation. Often what I see is it is not just the features of QuickSight that we leverage. It is the features of the overall AWS ecosystem that comes into play, which we leverage. So the most two common data sources for QuickSight are typically that we use are the Amazon Redshift and Amazon S3. Now, QuickSight can directly query an Amazon Redshift table. But where this actually becomes more interesting is that there are certain features that come out of the box from Amazon Redshift. One of them is the federated query feature. So what you can do with federated queries is that with federated queries, you can run a query. You can query it against the data which resides in your Redshift. Redshift is essentially the data warehouse, the analytics platform offering by AWS. So you can query the data which is residing in Redshift and at the same time join it with the data that resides in your transactional databases, maybe on or Amazon Aurora or something. So data that is residing in your transactional databases. You can also maybe, if required, you can also run this query to pull data from your data lakes, which might be sitting on S3. So essentially what you're doing here is you're using one query, querying data from a transaction system or your data lake and your data warehouse all at the same time and deriving all this insight into QuickSight. So this is actually helping, so you are essentially eliminating the need for an ETL to move data from your transaction system or your data lakes into QuickSight using these federated queries. Another feature of Redshift is its integration with the AWS Data Exchange. Now, if you have a use case where you need third-party data into your QuickSight, you can actually use this integration of Redshift with the AWS Data Exchange, get the third-party data or external data into Redshift, query it via QuickSight, and derive the insights out of it. And with S3, I already spoke about how we can use federated queries to pull data out of S3. You can also use, if you're using Redshift, you can use Spectrum as well to pull the data out of S3. Now, in another common data source that we use is the Amazon S3. Now, if your data lies within S3 and you need to derive insights out of it, you can actually query data from S3. Now, if you have a use case where you need to get near real-time data or your dashboards require near real-time data in it, you can actually use the integration of S3 with Kinesis, have data come from Kinesis Firehouse come to S3 and query the data via your QuickSight. Or you can also use the connection of S3 with Athena, use Athena to run your queries, maybe to enrich the data and bring it all into QuickSight. So essentially, it is where I was going with all this is it is not just the features of QuickSight that we leverage. More often, I see myself using the features of the overall AWS ecosystem and how each of the different services integrate integrate and brings in this thing, adds to that the feature set is what we typically look at and leverage. So with this, I'd like to conclude my part of the presentation. I'll hand it back to Shaunak. Thank you.
Thank you, Narendra, for walking us through how Infosys is seeing customers using QuickSight in the whole AWS ecosystem. So let's quickly wrap up call to action. So if there's one thing that I want you to take away from this session is going to be this. So Amazon QuickSight Partner Journey. So the first step in partner's journey is to get QuickSight Service Delivery Program designation. So what is QuickSight Service Delivery? So QuickSight Service Delivery, or in general a service delivery program, is a validation program that identifies and endorses partners on customer experience and deep expertise on certain services. And Amazon QuickSight is one such service. When customers are looking for and looking to implement a BI solution into QuickSight, they look for partners who they can rely on. And that's when they go to QuickSight Partner Finder tool and find out all these QuickSight service delivery. We call it SDP partners. And in addition to partners, or in addition for customers to have visibility to these partners, AWS salespeople also rely on QuickSight SDP partners. And becoming an SDP partners opens up a whole lot of other things like go-to-market capability and expertise in knowledge and getting visibility within our product team as well. And the next step, once you are a service delivery partner, the next step in your journey is to get Analytics SI Acceleration Program in QuickSight. So we have a couple of programs in ASAP, or Analytics SI Acceleration Program. One is called BI Migration Program, and the other one is Embedded Analytics Program. Apart from these QuickSight-specific programs, we do also have vertical solutions like media and entertainment, healthcare and life sciences, manufacturing and automotive, advertising and marketing, and financial services. So if you are in any of these industry-focused solutions, if you have any of these industry-focused solutions, we can help you out in building package product and go-to-market offering with those products as well. If you have any question, I'd encourage you to talk to your partner development manager, PDM, asking about the SI program. If you are not SDP yet on QuickSight, feel free to reach out to your PDM. There's an email. You can reach out directly if you're already an SDP and want to participate in BI Migration SI program. Feel free to reach out to us. And I'm going to wrap up our session with build on. So keep leveraging all these new expanded capability in API and CLI that we have launched recently to help you in your BI migration journey. We have a bunch of programs in partner ecosystems, such as SaaS Factory, Marketplace. So help us help you to build a solution that you can put in partner ecosystems for our customers to find it beneficial in their BI migration journey. And as promised, I have mentioned some of the QuickSight sessions that are coming up today. And one session was done yesterday, but you can have a repeat session as well. So feel free to capture with your mobile device, and you can go and register yourself in any of the sessions if you have not already. And again, thank you very much from the entire team for joining today's session. Hope you have enjoyed this session, and do not forget to complete the session survey in your mobile app.